to Crypto Clothesline. We're glad to be here with you. Hanging out the crypto laundry. Getting all the crypto info for you. Crypto Clothesline. Crypto Clothesline.
Amy Rose, all the way across to Nigeria. How did you think that our interview went just now with Doris Ojouderie?
Ojouderie. Is it French over there or something? Because
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Okay, so how self-obsessed is that? I say it like a French person and assume that Nigeria is full of French people.
It's called ethnocentricity, except it's not your ethno. Yeah, well, I guess we're just doing the best with the resources we've got, and we don't. It's the first thing we asked Doris, wasn't it? Was like, how do I pronounce your name again?
So how are you going? What's going on?
Oh, well, I've had an interesting morning. Very interesting morning. As you know, during our podcast, we had some rapping coming in from our neighbor, and it's interesting when you're recording a podcast in an urban environment. It's kind of community. Communities sometimes it's fabulous, and sometimes it sucks, and sometimes they play their music really loud. Anyway, it's all good.
Yeah, I'm that neighbor. I like to kill songs. So I'm that neighbor who plays songs over and over. I'm sorry, Abidi, and all the other people out there who have neighbors like me. I am a musically challenged neighbor.
I think you're a pretty cool neighbor. I've spent 3 weeks in your household with 3 kids, and I didn't think you had lots of beautiful, peaceful music playing. Maybe that's just because you were sharing the house with us and you needed to do something to maintain your sanity. But I remember you had a neighbor who had a basketball bouncing fetish.
Yeah, I've got plenty of really close neighbors.
Close in the physical sense?
And then you literally walk out of your house and all I want to do, this is all I want to do. I want to get up in the morning, go outside, put some rubbish in the bin, in my nightie, without thinking that there's going to be 50 eyes definitely looking at me because we all live so close together.
It's a little different from 5 eyes, but yeah, 50 is intense. That is surveillance shit.
I'm exaggerating, but I seriously think I can't actually go outside yet until I, make myself look like a human.
I know what you mean. Sometimes I go out there and you've got the pendulum boobies and I've got the oh dear, I haven't even looked at my hair kind of thing. And I'm like, what the hell? This is my house. This is my garden. It's the rubbish truck is coming and I ain't going to get myself Sophia Loren just to get out there and dump some rubbish in there. So I'm like, suck it up, neighbours.
Oh, really? Oh, I need to know whatever it is that you know.
I'm just over it. I'm seriously over it. I'm like, warts and all. I mean, this morning a really sweet friend came to pick up my kids, and as I was telling you about it, he was taking them to this kind of sustainability centre where kids learn to sort different types of plastic and they get it to put it in a shredder, and they've got ear muffs to cover and protect their ears and all this cool stuff. And I came out from the garage where I was recording with you for the podcast, and he went, "Oh, Abby, did we wake you up?" And I'm like, "No, this is how I look all the time."
What? And you know what? It's a reality check. Speaking to Doris from Africa, we're talking about not wanting to go outside because we don't have our giant bloody boobs in place. But I mean, over in Africa, listening to her talk, I was like, what am I complaining about? I mean, yeah. I'm not saying that because I listened to her, I'm going to go out on a nudist run outside my house in the morning, but I am saying we've just got such small problems here.
Yeah. What do they say? Third world problems,
Yeah.
And that is, it's a really good point, because speaking to Doris and listening to why she does what she does and why she's so passionate about doing what she's doing, we at the Clothesline, you and I established this because we wanted to reach the ears and hearts of more women. But effectively the work that Doris is doing is our work tenfold or maybe 1,000-fold, because she wants to convert and be able to educate and emancipate and free the minds of women that she says, she quoted, I think, at the beginning of the conversation, that African women work 7 to 8 hours longer than the average British woman in the same role. So they might have their day job, then they come home and they work for their kids and their partners and and the household duties. Although, to be completely honest, I don't know that's a whole lot different to what I'm doing. But, you know, like you and I are both working long hours during the day, and then we just slot in and do what we need to do in the evening. It's all relative. But even so, she talked about the abject poverty, the lack of access to internet, the lack of access to education, and the fact that women are not even expected to get educated because, what was the quote? That would make them too proud.
I guess that brings us to why we do what we're doing. And it's, I guess we're along the same thread. However, over there, considering, you know, they can't even get their own bank account, or they can't go into business to try and make more money unless they have their husband there with them.
It's all relevant, and I think we live within our own means. I mean, you were saying to me before you went to this really interesting presentation about tiny homes and things and emerging communities, and I was loving the sound of that. But I was thinking, like, we're brought up as the result of the conditioning and the society and the culture in which we live, and that we get certain skills from that culture, and we get certain ideas, and, you know, that goes on to mold us as humans, as adults. So we're always affected by the early learning, not just from our family, but obviously from our culture and what have you. So the fact that Doris is working to overcome these massive cultural identifications with the fact that women shouldn't be educated, that women are working such long hours, and physically, how are they going to turn around and learn about blockchain and coding and stuff if they simply don't have the time and they're too knackered?
Well, that's why I'm wondering how that's going to go. You can introduce technology and cryptocurrency, but there's a lot of change that needs to happen over there to make it accessible.
And she talked about the major use cases being keeping politicians honest, and I think we can all relate to that. But I think especially in countries where, you know, the voting is heavily, well, maybe the US and Australia and all of us are exactly in the same boat. I don't know, I haven't been there, and I really can't comment without sounding like a privileged white woman. But on the other hand, she also talked about supply chain, and so they have two very common use cases which would improve the lot of people all over the world. But I'm thinking especially people who are living in abject poverty. She said that women are responsible for producing 70% of the food that Africans eat.
Yeah, 70% of the food for the whole country.
So we're certainly dealing with a very different thing. She said that they didn't necessarily have access to the internet or a smartphone, which was something I was interested in, because they've been talking about that a lot in social media and in online marketing, is like, once those developing nations have access to internet and smartphones, that we're going to see an explosion of information, education, and access to all sorts of things which have been herewith denied to those people and those cultures. So I think that Doris is literally surfing on the edge of the wave. Like, when she calls herself an evangelist or a preacher about blockchain, I don't know whether blockchain is going to come to be. And, you know, we're learning about all sorts of other emerging tech which are going to be potentially superseding blockchain. We don't know, but the way that she speaks about it, I can imagine how she's really hoping is too weak a word, but really envisaging a different Africa because of the potential that this technology could bring to her people.
So let's tell everyone why we do what we do.
Welcome to Crypto Clothesline. Our show is about helping women join the blockchain wealth revolution for themselves and for their families.
Our names are amy-rosegoodey and Abidi Catherine Pass. We're speakers in blockchain and crypto, and we're on this mission.
We're learning together with you. We're talking with leading experts in the space and exploring cutting-edge technology projects that are shaping the future for our children and children of other nations too.
This podcast is for intelligence and growth, and our values are for peace, harmony, and collaboration for the planet.
We're super excited to be presenting to you today Doris Ojouderie. Please forgive me again for my pronunciation. And she is the CEO and founder of Blockchain African Ladies, and this is a forum based on providing education for women in Africa, or ladies in Africa, related to blockchain and cryptocurrencies.
Let's have a listen.
Let's listen. Well, welcome to Crypto Clothesline and the money season in particular. Today we are super excited to have a fabulous guest coming all the way from Nigeria. We have Doris Ojouderie, and she is the founder of Blockchain African Ladies, also known as BAL, B-A-L. It's a non-profit organization, and it's an educative forum for African women, bringing them together via blockchain education. Doris tells me we educate African ladies on the potential opportunities of the blockchain and how they can use this technology to change their lives by knowing and learning to use all available opportunity in the crypto space. Doris, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be on your show.
So good to have you here, Doris. Thanks for coming on.
Wow.
And you have such a cool accent. I said to Amy Rose, oh, I can't wait till she comes on. She sounds so cool. You are our very first African guest. Actually, we had a South African guest this morning, but you're our very first Nigerian guest. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be the founder of this fabulous organization and what kind of projects you're working on at the moment?
Actually, an ardent blockchain lover and a preacher. And I've actually been in the blockchain space for over 6 years now. I've been doing quite a lot. I'm a serial entrepreneur and with a unique expertise on business development, strategic marketing, and I'm a CEO and also the founder of Blockchain African Ladies, which is a non-government organization forum that is centered around educating African women about the low-hanging fruits of the blockchain. Actually, I love the crypto and the blockchain space for quite a while because the blockchain is an emerging technology. It's so interesting, this technology, getting to found it with every interesting aspect of it. So I have been at the forefront of crypto education, educating people about how to access this beautiful, awesome technology, that has the ability to give you freedom. You can play around it. You could do anything around it. You could do business with anybody, anywhere. It's really so interesting. So for Blockchain African Ladies, I have noticed that there's a very serious gender divide, which is basically very high here in Africa. And I attend blockchain conferences a lot, and I see that only a handful of ladies are in attendance. And I was like, wow, because the blockchain technology is actually a very essential technology that is emerging and has the ability to deeply liberate, give us freedom and access to the good life ahead.
Doris, can you tell us a little bit about the current state of women in Africa? Because I am of the understanding that women in Africa have particular roles, and to be involved in cryptocurrency or blockchain is really out of the ordinary. So could you elaborate on a little bit about what the role of women is in Africa?
In Africa, women work 2/3 of African working hours, and produces over 70% of its food. And yet they work over 8 to 9 hours in a day, longer than the average British woman does, on professional or domestic work combined together. And women are the backbone of economy that grows at least 70% of its food. Also, they are also responsible for most of the major day-to-day work, at home and all that. So most African women actually face a whole lot of economic and social constraint, because of the cultural background over here. The African woman is most of the time she's constrained and prevented from, coming out to do some certain things or doing so much. Like, for example, some laws in Zaria. Zaria is actually a northern part of Nigeria. Some laws in Zaria, for instance, a woman must have her husband's consent to open a bank account, or to involve in a very serious business that has to do with her making more money. This is often very, very difficult for women to, because of these different constraints, women actually have difficulty in accessing technology and information and also resources. Women end up working twice as long, because they have to take care of their children, they have to take care of their husband, they have to do this, they have to do that, and they are basically confined to the home setting. So getting basic education or participating in national education, which is actually due to socioeconomic, sociocultural and economic environment. That is this environment actually constrain them from getting involved in this thing. So these are one of the challenges that women face, because over here, women don't really have access to equal education with the male flux. So most of the time, women are regarded as inferior to men. We are actually experiencing here in Africa. So they are not expected to dream very, very big, to aspire high, to be so great, especially in what is considered as the male field. For example, engineering, architecture, medicine, so it is actually largely assumed that educating women will make them to be too independent, will make them to be, too proud. That's the way it is being looked at. So in other words, they are not expected to do so much. So they are confined to be at home and take care of their kids, their husband and all that. So I think this is one of the basic challenges we have here in Africa. And thank God for globalization. Thank God for the internet. We could see what is happening all around the world and all that. So many are breaking free from these norms. That's why we are out there to educate more women, to be able to stand out on their own, to be able to make a difference, to be able to impact themselves, their families and their world, and also to correct the notion behind these things that are bringing the woman down for her, preventing her from accessing this technology that is able to better her life.
I understand you've got a conference coming up, the 2019 Block Tech Women Conference. Can you tell us about that? And have you created that in order to address this deficit, this problem that you're speaking about in terms of how women are not expected to get further education and they have this total difficulty accessing it because of their time constraints and social constraints?
Okay, the Block Tech Women Conference, it's actually a big one that is being brought in by Blockchain African Ladies. And the conference is the first of its kind because it's a conference that is a blockchain conference that is focused on women here in Africa. So the Block Tech Conference has various aspects where we have to train women about the potentials of the blockchain technology. We give them basic training and teach them how they could use this technology to better their lives, how they could use this technology to gain financial inclusion. It's actually a big one we are actually putting up together. Although before now, we have been having webinars, we have been having seminars, we have been having online training, and it's been awesome because over here, we have just a handful of women that are playing around the blockchain technology because, again, it's in the space, it is seen as a man's world, being around, talking about blockchain, crypto trading and all that. So we have come to see that this technology, it's something that everybody needs, because it's a technology that is going to change. It's a disruptive technology that's going to change the way we do everything. That's going to change the way we interact. That's going to change the way we do business. So we have put together this conference to get more women educated. Although the conference, it's a conference that is open for all. Both male and female can attend the conference, but it is focused on women. Why is it focused on women? It's focused on women because 80% of our participants are going to be women, and 80% of our speakers are going to be women. We want to have more women players in the blockchain space. We want to see more women attending blockchain conferences, and we want to see women heading startups, solving major problems in the blockchain space. We want to have female developers. We want to have female CEO of big startups. We want to have female miners. So that's actually this gap we want to bridge. And above all, we believe that when we have more women players in the blockchain space, we are going to actually attain adoption faster, because everything we are doing in the blockchain space is actually focused on one goal, and that is adoption. Africa needs the blockchain. There's a whole lot of things going on in Africa. There's a whole lot of corruption here and there, but the blockchain is transparency. The blockchain is gonna change everything, because It's actually a technology of truth. So that is why we are doing all we can to get this technology on board everywhere, educating everybody, educating the government, educating organizations, but my organization is basically focused on women. So because women are a strong part of the society, women are a strong, they are strong personality. So once we are able to educate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, many, and we will actually start getting shape and using the blockchain better in our society and using it to actually improve our lives.
Doris, you mentioned corruption. How do you see blockchain playing out in Africa, considering it's quite a well-known fact that there is a fair bit of corruption going on? How do you think they're going to go about adopting such a transparent technology of truth?
Okay. Wow. I actually look forward to the government coming to realize the potential of this technology and having our electoral system, our voting system being done on the blockchain. Because over here in Africa, that is the major challenges we are having. We actually have a serious issue with our voting system. Most of the time we have elections and it's not free and fair. We have the upper party that have the resources, actually forcing their self on the electorate and all that. So we are having that major challenge because once we have the wrong people in government or we keep having the wrong people in government, then our basic needs will not be met. We are still going to be experiencing underdevelopment in our society. We are still not going to be having the good amenities we actually need, by voting in the wrong leaders who are not concerned about the people, who actually are concerned just about themselves and what they are going to get out of the system, not what the people want. So that's one essential problem we are having in Africa, which is voting in wrong leaders as a result of manipulating the electoral system.
Doris, you've spoken about using blockchain technology to keep politicians honest, to get the voting system transparent, and with a view to getting people in power who will actually do what the people want and help them out. And I think it is the case in all countries, but I can imagine from what you're explaining, it's especially vital in your country. You've also talked about using blockchain technology to make sure that the supply chain is honest. And so from the farmers to the final product, things can get traced every step along the way. They sound like awesome applications, but I'm interested to ask you, if cryptocurrency, like at the moment, if women in Africa were to learn about blockchain, are they able to contribute funds to cryptocurrency? Can they buy their own Bitcoin? And if they can, is there a means to spend it there? Are there places accepting Bitcoin in Nigeria and Africa at large?
Over here in Africa, we actually are still trying our best to get the society, get women, get people to still understand, this emerging technology or the importance of cryptocurrency. In most parts of Africa, cryptocurrency is actually frowned at. Some countries specifically in Africa don't even, some places Bitcoin is even banned. For example, in Egypt, you can't talk about some Bitcoin or openly sell Bitcoin. You'll be in trouble. So what they do there is just to talk about the blockchain as a technology. Then also in some other parts of Africa like that. So that's one of the major challenges we are facing. Over here in Nigeria, severally, the government has come out, to warn citizens about Bitcoin. Some organizations call it a scam, and all that. But however, in Nigeria here, we have a strong, vibrant community. In Nigeria have one of the largest and the biggest crypto community in Africa, enthusiastic crypto community in Africa. And although in Nigeria here, we are not constrained. The government didn't constrain us to say, no. If you sell Bitcoin, if you buy Bitcoin, or we're going to do this to you. No. They just are educating people that this Bitcoin is not legal yet, and it's still volatile, and they will not, anybody that is going into it is at their own risks and all that. So, but however, we are making progress here with education, because we are talking about the future here. We are talking about the future payment system, and we are talking about what is going to money has transformed. So we are talking about a system which is the future we are looking at. So we can buy Bitcoin. You can buy Bitcoin openly. You can even have a shop and put it boldly, Bitcoin accepted here and all that. The only thing the government do is to warn people against it, and the nervous people and the people that are not yet educated about it would like, oh, no, you know. But the ones that are educated, you know, would still come to say, okay, fine, this is good. So that is why we are having conferences. We keep educating people that it is good, and we are still getting to the government, keep educating them and all that. So we have people that are buying Bitcoin over here, but we just have like let's say 20%, you know, of the population know what we are talking about.
Doris, you've been an entrepreneur, it seems like, for most of your career, and it seems like it's been tough. I mean, I can't really imagine the sorts of things that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, especially after you've told us about the role of women over in Africa. However, how awesome is it? You contribute to like 70% of your country's food. That's awesome. But I'm just wondering, as a woman and as an entrepreneur, do you have any advice for anyone else embarking on a crypto adventure?
Okay. Actually, the cryptocurrency and the blockchain space is really very interesting. And just like you said, I have been an entrepreneur for a very, very long time. I've been an entrepreneur for a very long time. And actually, right from my school days, I've been doing business. I have been I've been independent as a woman on my own, and it's actually have been so awesome. You know, it has been great. It has been being able to stand on your own, being able to do things. So I have not actually worked for anyone before. I don't even know what it means to have a boss. It has been interesting because I've ever been an entrepreneur, teaching people how to make money, you know, how to attain financial freedom, because that's one interesting thing about being an entrepreneur. You are in charge of your time. You know, nobody dictates your time for you. You have the ability to make money, to do things, to, you know, anywhere how you want it. So it has been awesome. And I get to, I was able to do this as a result of the blockchain technology. I bumped into the blockchain technology quite early, and I took position on time. I started studying about what this technology is all about. You know, initially when I found the blockchain, I thought the blockchain is all about Bitcoin, buying and selling of cryptocurrencies, because that's where I started from. I buy this cryptocurrency, I trade it, it increases, I take profit. So I thought the blockchain technology is all about. But later, as I read and as I study, as I attend seminars, you know, webinars, I get to know that the blockchain is way, way bigger than what it is. So I believe that it's all about you. You being able to set yourself apart, you being able to dream, you being able to, you know, have a bigger and a good vision about yourself. Because right now, the world we are at the digital age, and it is anybody out there can actually achieve whatever they want to achieve, except you are the one that is actually constraining yourself. You know, you can be able to break out of any barrier, you can be able to break out of any difficulties, you can be able to break out of any limitation where you found yourself, you know, and the ability within you. So I actually recognize myself and see that I have ability, see that I'm able to break free from whatever obstacles, you know, holding me back in terms of the society or in terms of anything. So I'm able to stand up, you know, or as a woman, take up the challenge to say, no, I want to change my life. I want to live differently. I want to impact my life, and it has worked for me.
Doris, you mentioned that the world is at a digital age. You mentioned that it's this age of technology, and it's very inspiring, the message to women the world over. And you sound like an amazing role model. I'm interested to know, though, from the perspective of being someone on the other side of the planet from you, we in Australia have really sometimes really unreliable internet, but we do have access to the internet. It just doesn't always work. How is it for you over there in Africa? Do women have access to internet in their home? Do they have smartphones? Do they have access to be able to listen to podcasts and get information through your organization and other organizations?
In Africa here, we have access to the internet, but it's just that the difference between here and Europe in terms of internet is that in Africa, the cost of internet is actually expensive, compared to the Western world. But however, we have access to internet, but basically most women really lack some of these facilities to help them to be online, having good gadgets, having access to good phone, and being at the internet most of the time. But however, we still have a good number of people being able to come online, so it's one thing to be online, and it's another thing to know what you are doing online, so most of the time we educate people to productively use their time, to be able to make money, online, each time you're online, using the power of technology. Because right now we are at the fourth industrial revolution. I tell people that you have to be conscious of the time that we are. The time that we are right now is the fourth industrial revolution, whereby almost everything is online, almost everything is going digital. You can almost do anything online. One businesses, companies, organizations, they are taking their sales online, and huge businesses right now. Most of the businesses that actually have the biggest revenue, their revenue actually comes from the activities and the sales online, because you can actually sell anything beyond your territory. That's the good thing about having access to the internet. That if I'm on the internet right now and I'm doing business, meaning that I can actually sell to people outside my territory, outside my country. I can network, I can interact very, very far away. I can sell solutions, ideas to people out there, and I can make money even outside my country and locality.
So just further to that, and I'm sorry, Amy Rose, I'm sure you've got a question, but I just wanted to do a part B. What are the literacy levels like, for example, these ladies in the rural areas, and do they speak English, given that English is largely used to speak about, cryptocurrency and blockchain information?
I would say it's 30%. We have, they do speak English, but there are some extreme remote areas whereby they speak the local language, but I don't think we have so much of such people, unless it's a very, very thick remote areas. But apart from that, we still have schools in the rural areas, and they teach English, and people are able to communicate in English. But I think it's actually the level of poverty in those areas that are actually affecting women most of the time. So what we are doing is we are still trying to get them educated, especially in the rural area, because in the rural area, what they do there is actually most of the time farming and trading, to be able to actually fend for themselves and all that. And the rate at which the girl child is being educated is really, really poor. So we are trying to get into the rural areas, in this part of the world, to educate them on the importance of, having education. But most of the time, some of these parents are poor, and they can't really afford good education. Then another challenge that the female have is that most of these parents have to marry their daughters earlier. Instead of going to school, they get them married, and some of these ladies have to get married on time, and because of that, they miss the vital part of their lives where they have to go to school and all that. But we are improving. I would just say we are just about 70-30, in that category.
So you say 30% of people do speak English or don't speak English?
Over 70% do speak English very well.
Great.
Doris, we're coming to the end of the time for the interview, but I want to know if you have any quote that you, or a mantra, or some sort of, I guess, a motivation that has helped guide you through all of the different journeys that you've been on. Is there anything that you can share with us that's played a big role in your life when it comes to quotes or mentorships, or anyone that you follow?
Actually, I have believed that anyone, anywhere, have the ability to change his or her life, because the change that you desire actually comes from the inside of you. And, over here, I see a whole lot of people around me. There's poverty. People are struggling to make money. People are struggling to live the good life and all that. So I actually, that's my driving force to actually stand out and to get more people to be financially free. And with the blockchain technology, personally, I believe that the blockchain technology is freedom for African women, because it's actually a decentralized system. You can be your own boss. You can have the ability to create anything. You have the ability to do business anywhere in the world. You have the ability to create idea, and you have the ability to change your life. So I believe blockchain is freedom, and I have a personal belief that I can be whoever I want to be. It all begins with me taking the challenge on myself to change my world. So when you stand up without looking at the government, without looking at the society, without looking at your economic situation, you stand out above your challenges. You stand out above your difficulties and your limitations. You get hold of yourself, and using the power of technology, you can actually make or create anything. So I think my personal motivation or driving force is knowing that the time that we are is one of the most powerful times, in the world, because of the power of technology, and I can leverage off anything. I can be anything I want to be, positioning myself and understanding that we are at the age whereby nothing is able to hold you bound, because you can actually learn from anywhere and at any time. The internet is able to teach you. In fact, right now, I actually met an amazing lady. I was reading the story of an amazing lady. I'm trying to get her name, who was able to get education through the internet. She never went to school, but she was, with her device, she was able to get to study everything that she did online. And today, she is actually a great woman that everybody's looking at. So using the power of technology and being able to realize that at this time and age, you could actually achieve anything. I think that's my driving force.
And so would you agree then that the future of money is through cryptocurrency and blockchain related industries? Do you think that is the way that, rather than us having to transact in cash or to send each other money from bank accounts, that people in Africa, people all over the world are able to now start transacting little by little? As you mentioned, it's peer-to-peer, but as it grows and as it becomes more commonplace, do you see that being the future of money?
Absolutely. Cryptocurrency and digital money is the future of money. This is the future payment system. Whether anybody likes it or not, whether anybody believes it or not, this is the future that we are. Money has evolved from different stages, from cowries to coins to plastic money, to paper money. Right now, we are at the digital age. Right now we are at the age of technology. And there is need for digital money because almost everything is going online. Almost everything is digital. And apart from that, the interesting thing why this is the future is the technology behind the technology that is the driving force behind it. We are talking about a decentralized system. We are talking about you being what is cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrency we are talking about you being your own bank. You being in charge, you being in control of your money, totally eliminating the middleman, which is the banking system. You having total and full control of your money. We are at that stage. So you could actually transact anytime. You could use your money anytime you like. You are not constrained. In seconds, you can transfer money and with less charges. So cryptocurrencies is actually the future of money. Yeah, right now it might seem difficult. The government might be fighting it, but they will definitely come to a point whereby they will have no option than to accept it because it is the future. And this is an inevitable future that is going to happen, whether anybody likes it or not. So I'm very, very happy and I'm very, very grateful that I am one of the early adopters of this awesome technology because when we get to a point of adoption, the early adopters who have started and seen that vision would be well placed. Like I tell people, cryptocurrencies or this digital money, which is the future, is like those that are playing around it right now. It's like I'm seeing the future as in being ahead, being actually 4, 5 years ahead of time. So that's just how it is. So digital currencies, cryptocurrencies is the future simply because it eliminates the middleman, keeps you in charge of your money. You have total control, and that's it.
Doris, thank you so much for joining us. I realize it was very early in the morning for you to get up and have such intelligent conversations, so we're incredibly blown away. We're thrilled that we could connect across the oceans, and we are very grateful to technology that it's given us this opportunity to have a wonderful conversation with a sister on the other side of the Pacific. No, of the Atlantic Ocean. Sorry, wrong ocean. Oh dear.
Close call.
Who needs geography when you've got bloody internet to tell you everything? So thank you, Doris, for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Doris.
Wow, what an amazing groovy accent.
I'm just trying to imagine what her day today looks like. I don't know. I don't want to put her in a box, but I just imagined, I saw a beautiful African lady yesterday and she had this scarf around her head and she had this beautiful flowing bright, I'm talking super bright, like oranges and reds and stuff, dress, just fully out there, very flamboyant. And I can just imagine her because she's definitely an evangelist. I can imagine her going around from village to village preaching about crypto and blockchain to other Africans. Yeah. I don't know. In my head, I'm painting a very animated picture of how Doris goes about her day-to-day life. I just feel like she's
I was interested to know as well if she could send me some photographs because I'd like to include that in the blog. And we don't necessarily do that with a lot of our guests, but I think when we're speaking to somebody on the other side of the world and they're expressing issues which we're really not familiar with in terms of the abject poverty that she describes and the difficulty these women have in accessing information, both for physical reasons of tiredness and just exhaustion, social reasons, as we mentioned before about needing permission to do things. I don't think that's all women, but she was saying some women need permission from their husbands, as you said, to open simply a bank account. And then the lack of access to education online or otherwise, especially in rural communities. Yeah, I reckon she's a powerful force.
The way she spoke sounded a lot like an evangelist.
Oh,
when you go to a Pentecostal church, I grew up in the church, and I know I was listening to her thinking the whole congregation is about to stand up right now and sing praise the blockchain. It was Absolutely, like motivational, like I was watching a TED talk or
certainly a lot of inspiration to be taken from this lady, and I'm really keen to see some photographs of the conference that she's engineering, that she's putting together.
And we're going to be sharing this within Doris's network too. So for anyone who is listening, who is in Africa, you can head straight to our podcast. We're going to put all of Doris's information into the show notes so that you're able to contact Doris and get more involved in the crypto and blockchain space. And for anyone who wants to help Doris, as I said, all the information.
There are also quite a few African nationals who are living in Australia and living outside of Africa and looking at this technology to be able to kind of take it home. So they've come here maybe as university students, or they're developing families here. They might be immigrants, but they're still passionate about wanting to see the implementation of this blockchain back home. So please know to get in touch with Doris directly and to see what amazing things you can create together.
And I just want to thank Doris again for coming on the show. It was such a wonderful and motivating conversation, and she's seriously making waves. And on that note, Abiti, I'm going to love you and leave you, and I will see you next week.
Have a great night. Catch you next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Crypto Clothesline. Crypto Clothesline.